Hey there YouTube, I'm Yukitsu, this is the Yukitsu Times. Welcome to my channel and welcome to Total War Warhammer. So we're continuing along our journey of just trying each of the different factions. And we're up to Orcs. Orcs and Goblins, one of my more favorite factions. They've got lots of versatility, they've got lots of really good units. I do like them quite a bit. And we're going to try playing them against whatever it is we happen to end up playing against. I do think that they have got good solutions against a lot of different types of things. And I do think that they happen to be one of the stronger factions right now. Probably still not as strong as the Empire, just because they lack a little bit in that sort of counter armor with range options. Like, they don't have those sort of options, but they're still really, really strong. Let's go ahead and see what we're going to be up against. We'll switch over to the Orcs, Greenskins, and we're going to be up against Dwarves. It's going to be a little bit odd. Okay. I feel like... Oh, no, we're up against humans here. Okay, Empire here. So we're going to go with Azag the Slaughterer. I still think that he's a really strong Lord choice, and we are going to keep him on the ground this time. I do think that, him being on ground is actually a pretty strong choice. I do like actually using the Purple Sun right now. I also have been liking Soul Blight in this patch a little bit better, but it's still pretty short duration, so I don't really want to take it necessarily. Doom and Darkness, I wish it affected more units by default, but it is as it is. Aspect of the Dread Knight, not particularly good for me. Fate of Bajuna is good against the Empire just because you might need it against their Demigryph Knights. So I still keep it, even though I usually don't use it as often. The Poison Banner is still quite useful. It's a defensive item in my opinion. Going to go ahead and take a couple of these Goblins, big bosses, because they're still really, really good. I don't feel like I need to have them mounted necessarily, so we're going to keep them on foot, keep them really, really cheap. Orc Biggins, still really good against the Empire, so we're going to take like 6 of these. They're going to be our mainline infantry. We could take some Black Orcs, just like 1 or 2 of them. We'll see how many points we've got left. We're going to take 3 of these Goblin Archers, just as a good bit of Archer support. Orc Boarboy Biggins, maybe 3 of them might be a good idea. Maybe just a couple of them. We'll keep 2 for now. I don't feel like taking monsters against the Empire, because I do feel like they have the edge in those sorts of fights. What I do actually kind of want to take, though, are the Doomdiver Catapults, or maybe some of the Goblin Rock Lavas. The thing is, like, these guys are shorter range than the Empire equivalents, but they're pretty cheap, so I could, like, load up on them pretty effectively without taking too much. Like, the reason I don't like taking these monsters against the Empire is that the Empire is very, very good at killing them, very, very cost-effectively, so they're not as good against the Empire as they would be against other factions. So you can take another Orc Boarboy Biggin, it looks like, and then we can even load up on a couple of just sort of screens of Goblins, just for my backline, just to fend back there. And we'll load them up with a little bit of experience there. If we support them with the Goblin Biggins, Goblin Big Bosses, then they're actually pretty durable. Like, they'll be able to withstand a bit of a charge, deal some damage to whatever's back there, and give me time to use either my Goblin Big Bosses or my Cavalry to get in there as necessary. I forgot to check what map this is, actually. This is Gorgazan, so this is actually a pretty good map for catapults. Okay, you do want relatively flat terrain even for the catapults, because like just because you've got a good flat line doesn't mean that they'll be able to see their targets, and like more extreme angles that units might be on makes it a lot harder for those to aim. These units are still very, very inaccurate, I find, and I've had some difficulty before in them just not causing any casualties, but at the same time, I've played a couple of games where I've been taking like field trebuchets or whatever, and they've done really good work for me, so I think that they're kind of a little bit in a better place now. They added range to all of them, including the rock lava for the orcs. They used to be the lowest range out of those sort of things. They're still the lowest range out of that class of artillery, but they're better now. They used to have like really, really bad range. Other ones are upgraded to 440, so higher than cannons from 400, I believe. I think they used to have 360 on the rock lavas, but since they're only 600 points instead of 750, that still works out pretty well for them. 750 or 700 for the Bretonnian Field Trebuchet. Alright, so one of the things I have to worry a little bit about is I'm not going to be great at dealing with an air general. Just the Goblin Archers have really low armor penetration damage, so it would have been better if I'd taken the regular archers, the Orc Archers, if I wanted to deal with air units. Alternatively, you could even go with the poison ones, and that poison, even though it's only causing like 1 damage per shot, is still going to slow them down, so it would give me time to hit them with something else like Azag, potentially. Let's go ahead and spread our lines out pretty wide here, just in case they've got a bunch of great cannons. We do want these close enough that they can fire into the front of the enemy. Oh wow, we're going to have to move up with our artillery, it looks like. Alright, so going to have a couple of goblins along the side here. Going to have a good long lineup of these guys around back here. And our goblins are going to be around by our artillery and such. Looks like my lines are going to have a little bit of trouble if my opponent has enough cavalry to overwhelm my my cavalry as well, but it's pretty hard to overwhelm 3 units of Orc Boar Biggins without really heavily investing, especially if I can fade a Bajuna in there. Alright, so let's go ahead and grab all these guys up here. Alright, so he's got a couple of units of Demigryph Knights, he's got an Amber Wizard. Alright, he's got a front line of Greatswords, so that's going to be pretty tough. Yeah, 1 Demigryph Knight, 1, is that Reiksguard or just Empire Knights? Just Empire Knights. Okay, so he's got the Amethyst Mage. I'm assuming he's going to use him for Summon, which is going to be pretty rough since they'll give him 3 air units. Pretty tough units for me to kill. But I think we can manage just fine. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and start flinging rocks into the midst of my opponents here. Okay, I'm getting some sounds there. Oh yeah, no, he did cast it. My headsets are on backwards. Okay, well, that's fine. One of the things that I have got going for me is I do have a lot of Biggins, and the Biggins are actually quite good against these feral monsters here. They're low armor, the fact that they're large means that I can deal a lot of damage to them, more than you would think. So, it's not too bad for me. Since he's only got 1, I can get to firing here and just let my catapults do their work. Deal as much damage to them as possible before they close. Looks like we're getting like no good hits here. We got a couple of great swords off of that one shot, but it's not really great. I'm going to aim at these guys rather than at the Demigryphs, just because the catapults tend to be pretty low accuracy, making it a lot harder for me to snipe out cavalry units. So it's not ideal, but it is the way it is. That was a better hit. Alright, so I want to just fire away as much as is possible. I think that Purple Sun actually would be pretty good here. Sort of like stuttering his movements, I think, to try and dodge some of the catapult rocks. Which is annoying, but it is working, so... Alright, where's our Goblin Archers here? I kind of want them more sort of like along this kind of lineup, since I've got... Oh. Let's move these goblins like this so that they can fire at that guy as he comes in. Let's get ready to charge in with these guys. Looks like he's going to try and come in for a rear charge, unsupported, or something. I don't know what he's doing, actually. Taking some hits regardless, without doing much of anything. Okay, so I can get this Purple Sun to about here. We're just going to let our units fire away. What the hell did you just hit this guy with? An Amethyst Spear, I'm guessing? Okay, so let's get this down here. Shit, he stopped moving. Alright. Well, we gotta charge forward now because... Well, actually no, this we got really good scatter on that, so we don't have to charge forward just yet. Alright, so let's charge in with these guys. See if we can't charge with this as well. Let's charge into this guy with these guys. Alright, so we're gonna have to take an engagement here of some sort. I do kind of want to fade a Vajuna to these guys. They're a little bit far away, but I can probably do it. Alright, let's get into melee so that he stops firing at our lines here. Like, I'm not going to do great against this composition, but I'll do enough. Alright, so... Yeah, this This thing's going down pretty fast here. Alright, yeah, I do still want to take out this Demigryph Knights. Let's pop our buffs, though. I do also want to get in casting range faster. Ooh, that really rocked these guys a bit. I mean, this is going to be terrible damage against that unit, so let's fire it at these halberds instead. I feel like that's going to be a better target. Over here, looks like Fate of Bajuna has gone off on those Demigryphs, which is going to help a ton. Alright, these guys are all firing, that's good. Let's pop, kind of want to kill that wizard, but let's pop this against Karl Franz first. We'll take him out first, out of the two of them. Great swords we should be able to grind through there, just because of sheer numbers. Okay, we need to get those guys out of there. Alright, let's get to Azag back in the fight here. Should overwhelm our opponent pretty badly at this point in time. Looks like we're overwhelming him. Alright, let's just fire at those guys for a bit. Orc Warboy Biggins got knocked out of the fight there. That's pretty bad. Alright, let's bring these guys into the fight. Dealt some pretty good damage to Karl Franz right now. Amethyst Wizard coming back around for another go there, which is pretty bad for me. Alright, let's get all our units back towards here. Alright, let's see if we can't get everybody back into the fight over here. I'm going to want to use more Spirit Leech on their general. I think that if we take him out, then the rest of the remaining morale is going to crumble for these guys. I'm going to have to use this goblin for... This is my general, actually. This is Azag. Well, he does armor-piercing damage, so he should be okay against the remaining Demigryphs. They're really low, so... With Wa as well, that's a pretty big boost. Oh, Goblin's getting sniped at. Alright, with the big guns in combat, this isn't too bad a situation for me. One of the things, like, I wish when I gave an attack order for melee units, they would mask air units. That's something I think they need to do. Alright. I guess we're basically done with all these things. Just want to get rid of the stuff around Azag. I don't want any risk of him getting surrounded and killed here. Alright, so my opponent... He's just like using these air sort of orders to make it so that my units can't fight, so we're just going to blob up everybody. Just going to have the catapults aim at them. How did those Demigryph Knights survive that? Oh, whatever. My opponent is pretty soon not going to have any units on ground, so his units are going to just start rapidly deteriorating in morale. Let's get rid of these greatswords maybe. Actually, no, let's bring these guys over here. Alright, if we get a lucky rock or something like that hitting one of these guys, then I should win off of that. Because his general is pretty close to dead here. Getting some lag here. Yep. Good times, good times. Alright. Not 100% sure I'll even be able to finish this one with the things chugging like this. Alright, so I've got enough for a Spirit Leech though. So even if they kill my general here, that's not going to matter all that much. Okay, there's his units, his general, there we go. And yeah, close victory. And yeah, 130 kills on Carl Franz, not too surprised. I let him get into my goblins, something pretty fierce there, but we got a lot of kills in those rock labas. Not many kills on this one unit, Orc Boar by Biggins for some reason, not 100% sure why that is, but quite a few on the others. Orc Biggins did a great job here, as I expected them to do. Goblin Big Bosses didn't do all that much. Demigryph Knights on his side, pretty much nothing. 28 kills is pretty pathetic. Great Swords, 55 kills. They did okay, but nothing spectacular or anything like that. Basically, he was just relying on Carl Franz flying around, like his Air Corps, just flying around being complete douches. But since I just wiped out all his ground units, I didn't really care. Just if your opponent has like a lot of flying stuff, just wipe out all his ground units, and then he automatically loses. And that's what happened here. So anyway, let's go ahead and check out the replay of this. It might smooth out those last few seconds there. It was at the point where we were like, he couldn't have won. There's no way that he would have won that battle once I started moving all my units together, and even if he killed my general, like, he would lose the fight. So it wasn't really any point in him just flying around with his air units being a douchebag, but let's just see how things are. So yeah, he's got a really small army here. He's got a very elite army as well to a certain extent, but like fully upgrading Carl Franz, fully upgraded Amethyst Wizard is my suspicion. Or if not fully upgraded, very close to. He's got great swords, which are too expensive against orcs. Like, this is a very, very expensive army for like a half roster size. I just outnumber him by huge amounts. And, you know, I didn't spend anywhere near as much as he did on my heroes and my general. Like, what has he actually got on this Amethyst Wizard? Yeah, he's got pretty close to fully upgraded Amethyst Wizard here. He's got, like, Blood Roar on both his characters. He's got, like, 3 spells, I think, on there. Maybe 4. So, like, this is a very, very expensive investment. This is a very expensive investment, but you know, common one. I'm not sure about these great swords being here. Like, this just doesn't feel like a full-scale army, and it sort of shows. I did want to really trash up the great swords in particular with the fire from my catapults, but I also felt like I didn't want to just sit back, really, so I kind of moved forward more than I have to, honestly. I could have probably skirmished with him with my goblins and won, because the handgunners lose that sort of fight, and since I could have matched his other 2 units with my 2 units, I could have really just sat back and forced him forward up onto a hill or something like that. I didn't really want to do that since I find that sort of boring. Great Sword's got, like, directly square hit there, but it didn't actually seem to kill any of them. Yeah, they just filled the hole back in. They didn't actually take any damage from that. Actually, it was this unit that got hit, but they only lost 2 members. So these catapults, like, they get the hits. They don't seem to actually deal that much damage on the hit. Crossbowmen took a good hit there. Halberdiers, like, they'll just dust themselves off and get right back into the fight. Yeah, it's a little bit saddening, actually. I thought that these were doing pretty okay. They did get a decent number of kills, though, across the entire course of the battle. Handgunner's taking a couple hits as well. The nice thing is that, like, each hit, it does decrease the firing effectiveness of those handgunners, so I do like it when they take damage. They're not exactly a gigantic unit either. Yeah, that was a pretty good hit on the halberdiers, but still, I guess the damage from those is just under the hit points of a model of a unit, like a greatsword unit or a halberdier unit, and you need 2 hits to kill one of them. That's kind of sad, but I guess the rock lavas are fairly cheap, that's probably why. Yeah, like a direct hit is basically going to kill 1 person, which is really pathetic. Feral Manticore takes pretty good damage from those goblin shortbows. Like, the range on the goblin bows is lower than normal, so that's one of the reasons why he can effectively fight me with the handgunners, but oh yeah, he did use the Amber Spear. It's a really good spell. Yeah, great swords. Didn't deal as much damage to them as I wanted to prior to this fight starting. This one actually got pretty wrecked, but... Oh yeah, no, that's some good, those are some good hits. Purple Sun of Xerius is actually quite strong right now. It's just, I got a pretty bad scatter on it. Yeah, so it came across those handgunners and dealt a little bit of damage, but nothing fantastic. Definitely could have asked for... I could have definitely gotten a better scatter on it, but it was my fault for placing it a little bit when he wasn't sort of moving forward at the time. Yeah, like, my opponent is in range, and I could have gotten my Goblin Archers just in range, but we're still plastering him with the rocks, so he still kind of doesn't want to sit back and skirmish with me necessarily. Especially because I'm losing cheaper units than he is. At this point in time, we are firing at these handgunners with our Goblin Archers, which is gonna be pretty good, actually, but I decided to charge forward because I didn't want to take too many shots. The Feral Manticore here, I don't get why... Like, if I had done this exact thing, I would have lost my Feral Manticore. I would have been dead by now already, because these units are so good at dealing damage to things like Feral Manticores. His has barely taken any damage. Like, it's taken 1,000 points of damage already, which is nothing for how long it's been in there. Like, it's fighting things that have bonus versus large, it's fighting a hero. I guess maybe these goblins got in the way or something like that, but I don't think so. Not enough that it should have taken this little damage. And now it's sort of like getting stuck in my units, but my units sort of like move out of the way for it. Like, this never happens for me. Here, this like center doesn't hold very well against mixed Kralfrans and great swords. Like, that's just not going to hold against that. No duh. But over here we did get the Fate of Bajuna off on the Demigryph Knights, and that's draining their health really, really fast. In addition, they're fighting these Orc Biggins. Like, Orc Biggins are a really good counter against that kind of unit. Orboy Biggins fighting the Empire Knights, so that was really in my favor as well. Getting a little bit more of stuff just shoved into those Demigryphs. I want to kill as many of them as I possibly can before they get out, and that's doing pretty okay. We're firing at the Amethyst Wizard, I believe, at this point in time. Or no, we're still firing at the Archers, I believe. But, I mean, Spirit Leech on Kralfrans, we're just going to try and whittle him down. It doesn't matter too much if I kill him quickly or not. I'm not here for a morale break. It's just I need to whittle him down because I know that, like, late game I'm not going to have that much that can deal with him if he doesn't decide to land. Orc Warboy Biggins are a good counter against him. They're chasing after him a little bit, but he doesn't have to fight them if he doesn't want to. Feral Manticore back there is back on the ground. All of these units that were chasing it stop chasing after. I wish that when you right-clicked air units, your units would still just mask them. They would follow them from the ground, stay underneath them. It would be a lot less sort of weird than this instantly stop sort of thing that happens here. Goblin Big Boss is taking out some damage from these Demigryph Knights, but at the same time, Azag is in the fight, and 2 units of Orc Biggins. That's actually a really good concave against them. Empire Knights routed against that unit Orc Warboy Biggins. Like, my units are getting pretty spread out, and I'm not dragging them back into the fight fast enough. He's focusing like really hard on killing these goblins for some reason. I don't really know why he spent so much of the game focusing on these guys. Like, just win with your infantry line. This is something that I don't think enough players can seem to be capable of comprehending or something like that. But, you know, he's going after my support units, and his entire army is gone. Like, at this point in time. He's got his generals and stuff like that. He needs to be taking out things like my Orc Biggins. Like, there's nothing left for my Goblins to shoot at, really. There's nothing left for my Orc Rock Lavas to do. He should honestly be focusing primarily on my blocks of infantry, because they're what's going to cause that combat resolution, which is already dipping heavily in my favor, to just really go in my favor. Even more so than it already is. He does just mass up all of his monsters and jump on an Orc Warboy Biggin unit, but he still gets tied down a little bit afterwards by a whole bunch of these Orc Biggins. And, like, I can still bring in some more units to reinforce. These guys will be back. My hero is coming back in. Azag is actually doing a really good job here of just running down these last little tiny remnants of these units. Like, the great swords here are so small, and the halberdiers here are so small that he can basically solo kill all of them. So I'm not actually too worried about him there. Like, my opponent should have probably just committed at some point around here. Like, his general has taken a ton of damage getting stuck into these fights here. His Feral Manticore is almost dead, his Amber Wizard's taking some good damage, and he's not as good in melee combat as the other units. So he needs to probably think about, you know, dealing some damage to my units here. rather than going across the field here all the way to my general, who doesn't matter at this point in time. Like, Azag's not going to be what ends up killing Karl Franz if it comes down to it. Like, they've reduced the effects of Spirit Leech so much that it really isn't what's going to kill him. It's going to be if he gets bogged down in a unit of Biggins, and he needs to get rid of those Biggins somehow. Yeah, so, like, this knot here of troops, that is bringing his morale down quite a bit. Like, Karl Franz is also quite heavily injured, so that's hurting his morale quite a bit as well. We've got our rock lavas firing away as well, so, like, there's the off chance that before he can actually do anything, I'm going to be able to knock out one of those guys with rock lavas. Pretty unlikely, but it can work. Like, everything around here is broken, so this was super, like, risky of him. As soon as he takes, like, any damage at all, he's going to end up losing his general. So, again, I ignore the heroes and just deal with everything else in the army and win because of that. There's that Spirit Leech rocks coming in as well. So that extra damage that he took caused his morale to go down. Then his morale went even further down because of the army being left in the air only. And that won me the game. So, yeah, I mean, it's nice to have these heroes, and it's really great when you can get that many kills off of a hero. Same with the Amber Wizard, but, like, I don't really ever care. Like, if my opponent is getting tons and tons of kills with their Lord or whatever, and I'm not capable of killing it, I can still win. It doesn't, like, this guy could literally be invincible, take 0 damage, or whatever, and I could still probably win the game. It would have been, you know, awkward there, because I would have wasted a bunch of resources trying to kill him. But, you know, if I'd killed instead the Amber Wizard and Karl Franz was invincible, he'd still run out of morale and then run off the field. So that's just all you really need to do. The one exception, of course, is Ungrim Iron Fist, who's unbreakable. But if you get enough units surrounding him, he's totally killable. So that is something. And, you know, I think that these sort of really small armies, they can work, but it just doesn't make up for having a large force there. Anyway, yeah. That's my analysis of that. I hope you found this one enjoyable, and of course, as always, I hope to see you all next time.